We acknowledge that we are on Treaty 6 territory, the gathering grounds of many diverse First Nation, Métis, and Inuit peoples, whose footsteps have marked this land and whose presence continues to enrich our vibrant community.
Hello and welcome back to Research Recasted, the Knowledge Mobilization podcast. I'm your host, Kelsey Howlett, and today we are joined by Fernanda dos Santos. Fernanda is an assistant professor in the Faculty of Nursing here at MacEwan University. She holds a doctorate in science and nursing from the University of Sao Paulo in Brazil and completed her postdoctoral fellowship at the University of Alberta. Her research focuses primarily on innovative pedagogical practices and professional development. Hello, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you.
No problem. So I want to start off by asking you, because you're originally from Brazil.
Yes.
What brought you to Canada?
So by the time I lived in Brazil, I also worked as an assistant professor there, and I had an opportunity to come for doing my PhD at the University of Alberta for a year. So we came, all the family came together with me. We spent a year here. It was awesome for our family, and I could identify how living in Canada, especially in Edmonton, would be very good for our family, like in terms of education, safety, opportunities, like professional opportunities, and this is the biggest reason that we moved to Canada. Like it was family reasons and professional reasons.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's great. And so you did get the opportunity to do a fellowship at the University of Alberta. What was the fellowship about?
It was like the fellowship it was a partnership between the University of São Paulo, where I used to work before, and the University of Alberta to bring professional, like professors from Brazil, to speed their research and to develop better their research. So my fellowship at that time was about simulation, developing a kind of framework to support novice professors on applying simulation, like clinical nursing simulations, and supporting them on how better do that. So I spent 1 year researching about that and developing a framework that was used in Brazil for a while to help like professors over there.
Oh, wow. And so was this the co-creating a simulation with students?
No.
No, this is different.
This is different, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know you worked on a study called Co-Creating a Simulation with Students as Active Partners, a social work experience. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about that one?
Yeah, I can. This is a project that I really loved. It was done here at MacEwan last year. So the project started with a professor from the social work here at MacEwan that was trying to find ways to support a student. And this student was facing some issues on their practicum. So the idea was how we can better prepare the student for the practicum in order for them to succeed by that when he's doing his practicum. And this is where the idea started. So we decided to develop 3 mini scenarios focused on communication. So how to communicate with a client, how to communicate with your supervisor, how to deal with difficult conversations. And we decided to do that, and in order to make it happen, we also partnered with a student from the theater course, like a senior student. And this senior student act as the supervisor or the parent that was needing support, requesting information. I asked about the student last month, and the instructor told me that he did awesome in the practicum, so we could see how it really support the student. And we also are about to publish a paper about that. Like the paper was already approved, and it's a very interesting paper because it was written with the students. So it was not just as researchers who wrote the paper, but also both the students contribute, and it's focused on their experience. So it's something that I'm very proud of have been doing here at MacEwan.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, that's actually really incredible. So it was focused on helping a student help get through their practical. And do you think this will have implications, like I don't think implications is the right word, but do you think this will have benefits for other students?
That's our hope
as well.
Yeah, I'm from Faculty of Nursing, but I hope that the Faculty of Social Work finds a way to implement that in a bigger scope, because so far it was just done for one student, right?
Yeah.
So we hope that it can help other students. I forgot to say, but this student faced some disability, so it was very interesting to support a student with disability and to shine on their better way. So I hope MacEwan, like Faculty of Social Work, and also MacEwan find a way to implement that in a more proper way or bigger way, with giving more opportunities.
Yeah. No, I again, that's an amazing thing that you've done, and especially with the research. There was one other study that I wanted to ask you about, and that was the social media influence on mothers' alcohol consumption during COVID, a mixed method study of online posts. Can you tell us a little bit about that one?
Yeah, I can. So this study has been developed by a group of faculty from the Faculty of Nursing. We are trying to publish the paper, so it may be available soon. And the goal of the study was to compare online posts pre and during COVID time. So we got a sense from our experience, like from my personal experience and my friend experience, that by the time that during the COVID, we noticed a lot of posts on our social media related with drinking wine that are drinking like to calm you down, or you are having your son at room schooling and it's a nightmare, so drink to support you about like to deal with that. So I said, what about doing a research about that? What about trying to identify how moms are coping with that? So this is where everything started. Then we researched to public Facebook groups that it's all about moms drinking. So they are named as Moms Drinking Wine, and the other one I don't remember, but it's everything related with moms drinking. Okay. So we collected all the posts from 2018, if I'm not wrong, until the end of the COVID, until when the COVID was declared like that it was not a pandemic anymore. And we noticed a lot, like much more posts about drinking behavior that grow through the COVID time. So they grow when the COVID was an emergency that anyone didn't know what to do. But after that, it declined. So it comes like to the normal range. It was very shocking to see the posts because many of the comments were about drinking breakfast, like drinking as part of your breakfast, bringing something drink like alcohol when you are following your son in a football game, for example. Drinking as a way to cope with stress. Drinking alcohol as a way to handle homeschooling. So looks like that a lot of moms relied on drinking to overcome the challenge that all of us face. And they were trying to find ways through social media to normalize their feelings, to normalize their behavior. We don't know because the research was only focused on the Facebook posts, so we don't know if they develop any kind of drinking behavior after that, or if it was just a way to try to normalize their feelings. But it's something like to alert healthcare system and to alert our society that that's okay to drink, but sometimes we saw also a lot of behaviors that was not acceptable, like drinking much more than in a normal social way. So it highlights some areas that healthcare system should focus more on.
Wow. And that's basically just like the overconsumption of alcohol.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So you focus a lot on researching education and how to help students learn, and you have a focus on helping student engagement as well. What inspired you to research that? Like, what draws you to education?
I think I should start saying how I started on research and how I started researching education. So by the time I was an undergrad student in Brazil, I had the opportunity to participate in a group to support parents of preterm babies. So the group was not about research, it was about providing some relaxing activities like cooking, walking, because they have a very difficult time when their babies are at the intensive care unit. So the goal was about that. And it was my first time that I had the opportunity to teach something. So I was not teaching anything special. I was teaching about cooking something or drawing or coloring or like very basic stuff, like things to help them. But that was the moment that I realized that through education, I could make a difference. And then I did my PhD and everything, and I started working as an assistant professor. And I realized how students could be better supported. Like sometimes we don't offer all the support they need, not because we don't want to, it's because maybe we don't know how to do that. So this is how I get inspired to research about education, and it's the place that I feel more comfortable with, and it's the place that I think I can do more for the society, more for the students than in any other field.
Wow. So that inspired your research into education. So why do you focus specifically on nursing?
Because that's the area that I decided to work on. So again, like deciding on being a nurse, it started with a family that she was a nurse, and I was inspired by what she was doing. Mm-hmm. And so it makes sense to make the transition, like to be a registered nurse, then a nursing professor, and research about nursing. I don't have like any data to prove about that, but I heard from other fellows that read my research that they also can apply that in their field, because even though it's focused on nursing students, because nursing students, we have a different way of teaching and different type of classes. So we have lecture, we have clinicals, we have simulation, we have labs. So it's a kind of different than other courses. But I agree with you that maybe researching about education can apply it for any course, because the students, they are students everywhere, right? Like they have the same challenge they need to overcome, or they need the same kind of support.
Yeah, no. I definitely agree. And I know that focusing on one field, but if you're focusing on the education, I can also see how that can apply to many different areas, because like we're all students, we all take lectures, we all do practical courses and everything. And I think we all learn in different ways too. True. Right? Like I know I'm very visual. I need to have everything like laid out for me so I can see it and I can see examples and everything. So like working with people on how to develop education to fit more types of learning, I think is really important. Just for the education, how have you found education to be different in Canada compared to Brazil?
Okay, so if I think about nursing, there is not so much difference between Canada and Brazil. So in Brazil, we also have a 4-year bachelor degree, the same that we have here in Canada. We also form general nurse. Here is the same, like the final degree is a general nurse with general abilities. So I don't see a lot of differences between both countries. What I can say that I see a lot of difference, it's especially on other courses. For example, in Brazil, medicine, it's a direct entry from high school or later. So they don't do a college degree and then apply for the medical course. In Brazil, you can go direct for a medical course. The same is for psychology. You can go for a psychology course degree. You don't need to do, for example, Bachelor of Arts or nursing or science and then proceed on your career, like developing your career to be a psychologist. So this is where I see many differences. In terms of teaching from the nursing perspective, again, that is the place I feel more comfortable to talk about. We have similar ways of teaching, like lecture, clinicals, a lot of labs, simulation. The only difference I see from here and there is that we usually have the same professor doing everything. So if you have your cohort, you follow your cohort for the entire process. For example, a lecture attached with a lab, and then the clinical, it would be the same instructor following you through the entire process.
Okay.
Most of the time, not 100%, but most of the time. So this is something that I note that is different from here.
Okay.
There are benefits and challenges for both ways of teaching, but it's the difference.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, because I know education is kind of different all over the world. Like, and in a lot of ways, it's really similar. But I know that there are those differences, like the direct entry into medical school.
Mm-hmm.
My brother-in-law is a doctor, and he just finished his residency.
Yeah.
And he had to go through like the whole 4-year degree, and then medicine, and then the residency, and now he's finally able to practice. So it's been like eight years.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
In the making. So that's really interesting. So you're also fairly new here at MacEwan.
Yeah.
So you've been in Canada since 2020?
Yes.
And you've been here at MacEwan since July? Or
No. So I have been at MacEwan. I worked previously. I worked before at CTL, Center for Teaching and Learning, from 2021 until July 2024.
Okay.
And then I had the offer to move for the Faculty of Nursing.
Okay. So because of that, you said that you were still sort of finding your niche here at MacEwan. So if there's any, like, if you could focus your research on anything here, what would you do?
100% on nursing education, and I would love to partner with other instructors from other departments, other courses to research about how to better support student learning on their course, so something related with that. I really like finding innovative ways of teaching, so researching about that. I'm very passionate about simulation. I believe that simulation is not only for health-related courses. I think a lot of courses can benefit of that. There are different ways of doing simulation that is not only the medical model or way of doing simulation. And I also I think because of my previous role at CTL, I also like faculty professional development. So at the same time, we need to support the students to be better learners. We also need to find ways to support faculty to be better teachers, better instructors. So this would be the two spots that I feel comfortable with, and I feel they connect with each other. They can come together as my niche of research.
Yeah, you innovative learning techniques and all of that keeps coming up. What would an innovative learning technique look like? So, what are some that you've encountered?
So it's a very good idea because I like to talk about that. I don't see innovation only thinking about technology. Many times people relate the word innovation with using technology, and is not always the case. You can innovate teaching, doing things like very basic things. For example, partner with a community center and doing something innovative. So creating innovative ways of teaching and learning would be giving students opportunity for critical thinking, decision making, implementing some strategy, some activity in a hospital, in a community center, in any place that will help them to apply their knowledge. So when I think about innovative, I think on ways how students can apply their knowledge, their learning, instead of just memorizing things and just answering questions based on memorization. So I truly believe on ways of teaching that students can see why they are learning that and how they can use that for their learning or for their future on their career.
Okay. Yeah, I know the why. Why are you doing this? Why are you learning this is always so important, and I feel like sometimes it is missed.
So one way that it's very simple way that we can do that, for example, is that I consider very innovative. It's taking students for visit a center or for visiting service, letting them realize what kind of problems, issues, something they think it's important on that environment, bringing them back to the university for the classroom environment and helping them to research ways to solve that problem. Then taking them back to the service and letting them try to apply whatever they want to do that and let them find the results, if it would work or not. So it takes a lot of the instructor to do that. I can see that. But at the same time creates a huge opportunity for the students to see how it would work on real life. I believe MacEwan has been working on that direction. I can see many courses doing that. For example, creating opportunities for community service, for application of knowledge. But I always think that we have more opportunity to expand. So as much as we can expand on that, I believe it's very beneficial.
Yeah, I know this semester myself personally, I got the opportunity for a class to actually work with a client. So like in professional communications, we actually we had a client come into the class and they said, this is what we want. And we spent the entire class working towards that goal for an outside person, which I thought was really great. It's something I've never experienced before, because usually you're just doing coursework for the sake of doing coursework, but to actually have real world implications and to be out there.
And in a safe space, right? Because you have your instructor, like the support, the environment that you feel that it was a safe space to try out.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing. You're given this opportunity in this space and the resources to help you learn and to make things better.
And you can do that in in little ways, small ways. Like I can give an example. I just finished teaching human anatomy course that looks like a very dry, heavy content course. So I create an assignment for the students that they need to understand how their nervous system was working. So they had to watch a very relaxed movie or listen a very relaxed music, whatever they want, or doing meditation, but I want them to bring their nervous system down, like to calm them down. Okay. And I ask them to note what kind of signs they would note on their body. And then they should be the opposite, running, watching a scary movie, whatever would scare them, because I want them to feel how their nervous system would feel like that. So it's not like your example, but it's a way that you can bring something that how I would apply that in the real world, how I can see whatever the instructor is teaching in the lecture working in the real world. And the feedback was very interesting. Many students wrote, like they have to post their assignment, and they wrote some feedback that I really like doing that. I could see what we're talking in the class happening in my own body. So I could see like how it would work, how I can see that in a patient in the future. So you don't need to go outside. Like you can even do that in small activities in the classroom, for example.
Yeah, there's a huge difference between seeing it on a sheet of paper as compared to experiencing what it actually is, which I think is really interesting and really important.
Yeah.
Do you find that there are challenges for instructors and for teachers when it comes to implementing some of these innovative learning techniques?
I would not say there are challenges. Maybe from my experience from Brazil and here at MacEwan, I can say that MacEwan is very good on supporting instructors. MacEwan has a very good supporter system on that. The challenge would be doesn't know what I have to do or how I can do that.
Okay.
So this is where faculty professional development comes along,
Yeah.
because some maybe they don't know how to do that, right? They never heard about that, or they are new like me for teaching in Canada and don't know what kind of support they have. This would be the challenge I could see. But on the other hand, if I compare my previous experience with here, MacEwan has a very good supporter system for faculty who want to implement something on their teaching.
Okay, amazing. I like that. Okay, I do have one last question for you.
Yeah.
And it's a fairly easy one that a lot of people kind of get tripped up on, but everybody gets this. It's a surprise question. And that's, what advice would you give to students, staff, faculty, professors? What advice would you give to anyone?
Oh, that's a good question.
I told you it's an easy question that a lot of people like. It's kind of hard to answer, but just like, what's your best piece of advice?
So the advice I have been doing for my students so far, it's been eat well, drink water, sleep, do some kind of physical activity, even though it's 10 minutes. Because you need to be healthy. If you want to succeed here as a student in your course, you need to be healthy. And there is not other way to be healthy than doing all that steps. You don't need to be the best on your class. You need to be the best for yourself. So you don't need to prove yourself for anyone. You need to prove yourself just for you. So don't worry about what the world will think about you. Worry about what you want for yourself. I think this is the advice I have been doing for my students. For the staff and for faculty, this is from my learning, from my experience. You are never alone, even though when you think you are alone. So there are a huge support, and we can count on each other to succeed here or to do the best for MacEwan, for the student, for our professionals. So don't think that you are alone. Like I had when I started at the Faculty of Nursing, even though I know MacEwan for 4 years, I had the feeling that I was alone. And by the time I started to reaching out people, I found an awesome support with many different people across MacEwan. So don't never think you are alone. There are many people that can help you.
Wow, I think that was advice that I actually really needed to hear. So thank you for that. And thank you so much for being here today and talking with us about you and your role here at MacEwan.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me, and I really hope that it can reach people. And I just want to say that I'm available if anyone wants more detail for anything that I talk about. They can just email it me or book something with me. I'm happy to meet with other people.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
If you want to support this podcast, you can visit Research Recasted on your favorite podcast platform to find new episodes every 2 weeks. Also, don't forget to check us out on Instagram at Research Recasted, where you can leave us a like, give us a follow, or send us any follow-up questions you had from today's episode. This has been Research Recasted, a knowledge mobilization podcast brought to you by the Office of Research Services and the Faculty of Fine Arts and Communication at MacEwan University.